Maurice Cornelius Escher was an artist who incorporated geometry in his artwork. His main focus was infinity and optical illusions. In many of his art pieces, he puts geometric figures together much like a puzzle, which in geometry is called a tessellation. He also includes three-dimensional figures, patterns, symmetry, and similarity. All this put together makes it seem infinite and that it goes on. I'm Mary Keplinger, and my TED Talk is on optical illusions and transformational geometry. Escher did not go to school for this artwork. His family wanted him to be an architect instead. Instead, he pursued his passion, which was lithograph and wood painting. He also created his own way of creating perspective, which many mathematicians admired. In this piece, called Horsemen, the horses are not facing one another. If they were, this would be an example of reflectional symmetry. This is a big example of tessellations in general. However, this is not the case that it would be reflectional symmetry. This is an example of glide reflection. Tessellations can have patterns as well. For example, when you look into a kaleidoscope, you see a tessellation as well. In this work, it's called Stars, is an example of three-dimensionality, perspective, and patterns. My first impression of this art piece was how complex it was. When you first look at this closely, you can see different shapes such as repeating triangles, parallelograms, and diamonds. The chameleons give this a more three-dimensional feel. In this art, he did not follow the common laws of perspective, and he tried to create distorted repetitions and lines to create that. He was admired for his representation of infinity, optical illusions, and masterpieces. In this next piece, this is one of his most famous works, called Metamorphosis. This is one of them, and it is split it up into three pieces. He uses contrasting effects with lines and black and white areas. Escher created contrasting effects. He composed regular divisions on the surface without any space by creating abstractions in one or more patterns. In these images, he makes it seem seamless by these equations. His main focus was contradiction and infinity in the basic subject through the art of cyclic paradox. A cyclic paradox is something that continues on, much like a circle. His work uses a pattern using the basic art of elements of dot, line, surface, form, and space. In this final artwork, called Mindscapes, he uses the concept of symmetry and similarity. This piece is not congruent to each other, but are similar because they get smaller. This piece is also symmetrical, as if you would fold it in half, it would be identical. Escher was not a mathematician, but in his work, mathematical concepts came through naturally, which many mathematicians admired. His art was affected by his fascination of impossible illusions and infinity. Through these illustrations of art, there is a better understanding of geometry, how geometry is intertwined in his works. Thank you.